All right, it's your boy Kamal Hart on the chart, and we're going bar by bar, same as always. Here we go. So, starting off, you know, got some congestion right through here, a little bit of a downward bias, um, and we're kind of got like a bigger range going on. We're on both sides of the EMA over here, and probably the lows over here. So, um, what I'm first looking at is probably this, and then bring in this line to the lows. Uh, Probably like here, and then finding my midline. Looks like it's somewhere in there. I want to check and make sure we're as close as possible. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe just a tick back, but that's pretty good. So really right now I'm looking for to sell this market up here. I don't want to sell this though because you can tell that for the time being we are just kind of congested up. So I want to see a breakout pullback, some sort of situation like that. Um, so as we tick down, that's our new high, by the way. This high is higher than that swing, so that's our new high. Here's the lower high, and this is where I took my first trade. Not really a good trade. It's a breakout pullback, and it's a breakout pullback setup, but you know, obviously there's a some sort of like congestion right through here, so that's kind of a bad place to go short. I saw it, I ignored it. I thought we'd probably just get a push down or something. So that's where I entered, and then I exited 2 bars above my entry. So, you know, this is it was kind of a risky trade. You can see how sideways it is. So when it pulled back, it was nothing too surprising. Um, and then we pulled back up into this upper side and kind of moved past that swing. Here's a second entry short, but that signal bar isn't great. See if we can get a lower high. And there's the lower high. Um, I like that trade. It's a little bit into that EMA, but given the context of all the resistance we have up here, and it's giving us this sort of setup, I like that setup. It takes it a while to actually tick down though, and what you could have done is if you were really seeing it well, you could have probably added on this red bar right here. That's the failed second entry long. First entry fails, second entry fails. So any one of those two I think are good, and if you're feeling especially capitalized, you might even double up there. Doesn't go super far though, so you need to be in and out. And then yeah, so I took that trade. I got my scalp. I got stopped out, break even +1. Um, Not too many ways I could have handled that differently. Um, and then here I took another trade. This was a bad trade. I just thought that since we had another lower high, this is the one that's actually gonna take off to this other side. That's really what I was trying to play for. I was trying to catch a runner down here, something like that. So I was just, this isn't a good setup. This isn't even a technical setup. It's just kind of like a bad trade. So I entered and it almost stopped me out immediately, only for it to set back up short, the direction I wanted to go. And now at least it's a second entry short. You can see off this low, first entry, second entry. The reason why we're going to skip it though is because prices are moving so sideways. You see how these bars are all inside of each other. So really what I need to do is wait for that breakout pullback or something. So we skip going short there, but it never breaks lower, so that's good. And then on this bar, when we break out and it fails, this isn't a great setup. Um, let's say it's aggressive. It's only aggressive because we're in the middle of that congestion area. Other than that, it's a second entry short at the highs of a range, failed break higher. I like all of those things, so it's just aggressive because of this range. But at this point, I'm thinking, okay, one of these signals is what's going to give us our breakout, and so I was willing to go short there. That one does pretty well. You can see we get a bounce kind of over here where we had this congestion from earlier. I was trying to figure out where to exit my runner, but I didn't have a swing yet. I didn't really have any signal I could use yet. So when it pulls back like this, I think even one more, I was out, break even +1. So I was trying to catch that runner and then couldn't catch it. But what sets up here is the lower high. See how this high is higher than these ones? So this is the lower high. The EMA is becoming resistance. We're in the upper half of what we're considering a range, so I'm trying to get short down this way. And at this point, because I had that feeling, like once I got stopped out on my runner and then it went back and closed like this, it was like, okay, I know where prices are trying to go. So I re-entered on a stop right there. That's my scalp. I got a pretty good runner. My only problem with the runner is that this was an undisciplined exit. I had made a good amount on this runner, and I thought, okay, here's a good place to exit, expecting it to pull back to the EMA soon. I had my real target one tick away from this midline, so not a good exit on my part. I should have really waited and followed my strategy, whether it pulls back or not. Hopefully by now, I would use this area as my swing point. So that's not really much better than break even +1, but it's better just to follow the runner, and I'll show you why. To follow your runner strategy. So we get within one tick of where my order would have been. I don't think I would have been out there though. And then we get this kind of like pullback, and you can see this bar setting up. If we look at our chart, that's going to be the failed second entry long once prices break below this bar. So you might take this trade, or for sure if you have a runner, you're just holding it, and this is going to become your new swing point, and takes a bar, but then it breaks lower, and then it shoots off past where my target was. So I could have had my target, but I didn't have the patience to sit through that. And then I'm kind of seeing a trend working down this way. Probably maybe the lows somewhere over there. So really, if you are holding this runner and you're not exited here, your next place is going to be down here, obviously. And I want to pay good attention to how prices move, because this is how you can hold that runner to the other side of the range. As we move down, and you can see we even have like a extension sort of breakout. But I like how it's respecting that line. So what I'm almost going to do is just see, maybe it's just like a extension sort of thing going on. Let's see if it bounces off this line at all. And you can see almost a perfect bounce off that line, off that lower area that we were talking about. And that's the point I'm trying to get at, is that if you would have had this runner and you survived this swing and put your stop right there, prices never make a higher high. So then I would have moved my swing there. I would have moved my swing here. Probably would have exited on a touch of this line, but you could have had this move all the way down. That's a really, really easy hold. But you just have to follow your runner rules. And that was the issue with this, is that I had taken these trades up here, and every time it came back and got me break even +1, came back, got me break even +1. So I was already like nervous about the pullback. But of course, it doesn't pull back all the way and keeps going on the one that you exit, where you think might be the lows. So it's a probability game, I know that, but it's just interesting how you almost tend to always pick the wrong one if you pick and choose the way you manage your runners. So you just got to do it consistently, commit to the process, and maybe 2 or 3 of them will pull back and get you. But even if you just get one a week, but one a day of these sort of moves, that makes up for the 2 or 3 that pull back on you. So my thoughts on that. So off this right here, it's off the midline, but that's just the first entry to the lows. There's no count off the highs, so they can't really do anything here. In fact, I don't really want to be going short on this side of the range. Only thing I really want to be do if I'm short is holding a runner through this, but adding on down here is a little risky. It would have worked, but that's not our main focus. We want to take disciplined trades. And here's a trade that man, oh man, I hate when that happens. Here's a trade that is really, really significant, and I want to make sure I talk about. We're going to have to get this trend line right. Let's just make sure I'm not having this too... Yeah. Let's see. This could be the trend line, this new one that I just made, but let's just see with what I have how that works, and then we can adjust it if it doesn't work. But okay, so here's a big thing I'm noticing about trading these ranges and these higher lows. If I have a trend working down, everything underneath my trend line, I'm looking for sell setups, right? So if I get this higher low inside of my channel, I'm looking for the wrong setup given the context. Even though we're at the lows, what I need to be doing is looking for shorts, but I don't want to look for shorts at the lows. So basically there's no trades here. But once we get the breakout of this channel, that's a better place to start looking for those long entries. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Because if you were to take this trade, it's a totally reasonable trade. It's a higher low at a range, like that's a totally reasonable trade, expecting it to maybe touch the EMA, maybe even come up to the midline. Boom, it fails. It fails, right? And then it makes a new low, failed break lower, and it's pushing lower. Okay, so that's exactly what I meant. This trend line, the one I used at least, was here. And you're going to see why. Really, and the reason why, I mean, that's pretty standard. What I typically do is if I have congestion, I go from the breakout and the swing after the breakout. So, or you just make it a lot tighter, because I do want those 3 touches, but you just have to make it a lot tighter, like here, like right off of this kind of candle, and that kind of gets you in that same spot. So we can do that. But this is what I'm trying to get at with this. And you still end up getting that expansion, I'm pretty sure, because if I have it here, I can still expand it, and it ends up being like there. So you still get that kind of bounce, and it almost ends up in the same place. But the main thing that I'm talking about for this trade is that, so now let's look at the difference, because all the trades that we would have taken inside of this channel that are bullish, they all fail. They all fail. They all fail. But the first signal that appears outside of this channel, see how we're moving sideways? And now that we're outside the channel, look at this entry. Pulls back a little bit, but then you get your exit. So there's something to be said there about if you are in a trading range and there is a trend down to the other side, wait for prices to get outside of this channel before you start looking for those reversal patterns for the safest entries. And that's how to not get trapped in here, trying to buy all this because you're at the lows of a range. So I kind of glossed over that, but basically right there is the higher low that we want. It's a little aggressive. It's an engulfing bar. Then here's a failed second entry short right there. That's a good trade. No problems taking that trade at all. And see how we're above the EMA now when those trigger? It's a good sign. So both of those trades I definitely would have been interested in taking. And since this is a range, once we start to break out, I'm not too concerned about a breakout pullback to the extremes. At this point, I'm assuming that it will probably continue higher. So I'm not worried about that breakout pullback, but I just don't want to go long inside of that channel. Hopefully that makes sense. So right there, I'll just go off that reversal pattern. We have a new micro trend. This is just the first entry to the high. It's kind of a failed break lower, but it's not really a setup. And since we have a new low here, this is the higher low, but you can see it's going sideways. And then right there, you get the failed second entry short off that low. That's a good trade. It's a good setup. You never know if it's going to be a good trade, but it's a good setup. Above the EMA, we're working now higher in this range, back in the range, maybe looking to come touch off this side. And since we're getting we got that reversal pattern, a breakout, 2 legs, new high, what I'm looking for now is this could be our spiking, and then we're going to have a channel or something. So maybe if we made it more flat, see how we get more touches, and we're still getting at least 3 touches. I like that. So now I can make this channel a little bigger, give myself a bigger target. You can see it's going sideways, so that's the first entry. It's pulling back. It doesn't pull back enough to give us like a second entry, so if you're in, you're probably just holding, but there are no new trades you can enter right there. Okay, and then you get another first entry. As you can see how sideways we're going, first of all. So we're not trying to buy up here. But one thing I saw that I thought was interesting is if I move this out on this bar right there, not really one of our technical setups, but you know, I think everyone knows what's about to happen right here. So if you saw it, it's probably aggressive. I'm not even going to really mark it, but this ends up working, and I don't know. It's like all I notice is that look how these lows are kind of. It's like they're giving us room to this high. It's like a third entry long, but there's something about this pattern that it seems very obvious where prices are headed. So we push higher. I like how this trend line is holding. I just keep expanding it. As long as I have 3 touches, I keep expanding it. Add some more over here. And what's happening though is we're kind of getting into this higher range, so we're going to be done going long here pretty soon once we start trading up into here. So hopefully we can get one more sort of pullback entry, but we might have to be on our hands for a little bit until we touch this far side and start setting up lower. So yeah, now we're in that upper side, so I'm really just kind of sitting on my hands waiting to see what happens. Here's a second entry long right there off the trend line. You know, I don't like going long on this side of the range, but this looks like a good setup. I'll say it's aggressive, but I probably wouldn't take that trade. And like, see, it doesn't go far. Probably not even enough to scalp. 50. Yeah, you get just enough to scalp. So just enough on this, but you don't get much. You can see it's really just going sideways. See how this bar inside of that bar inside of that bar. So it's not even a great setup, to be honest. But right there, you kind of get a failed break lower, almost like a reset pattern. But for the same reason, like I pretty much see this as a congestion zone. So I'm not really trying to even go long right now. I'm just watching this stuff, but you might see that. See, if you saw that, you would know that this really isn't even a good setup for the long. But you know, and you see how it ticks above and fails. to be expected because of this congestion zone. Then you kind of have that second entry long, but you just don't get a good setup. It's off that EMA. It's the first break outside of our range. Um, so, our first break outside of our channel, but it just didn't get a good setup for that second entry long. Pulls back, gives you another chance. Here's a higher low right there. It's okay. And then you get the failed second entry, but you just got to look at the very small details, and they will usually keep you on the right side of the road. Right there, you can see the congestion zone. So if you buy above this green bar, you're buying the breakout, and that's not smart. So it ticks one above, traps people, ticks them back, you get stopped out, just like that. But what could happen here is you might get that re-entry pattern that we always talk about, and see how we have that double top. So you might even get a second entry long. So we got to wait to see how that sets up. Like right here, it sets up. It's not that great. It's okay. It's a second entry long right there. Let's call it aggressive again. If I was going to take a trade, these are the ones that I'm more so looking for. It's a second entry long to the highs. It's a failed second entry short off the lows. If you want to consider this congestion, we're trying to fade back to this breakout area. Those are the types of things I'd be looking for if I was going to take these types of trades. But you can see what happens is that I don't know if my main influence for this trade is going to be this lower pattern, but if I am using this as a trapped pattern, people didn't get trapped. Looks like the buyers are getting trapped. So I'm probably going to scratch this trade if I'm using off the lows. If I'm counting off the highs and looking for the second entry, I shouldn't really let this spook me out. You just have to exit where you're supposed to exit, which in this scenario is probably 2 ticks below this signal bar. And then your wide stop is 1 tick below your signal, or 2 ticks below your entry bar, and then 1 tick below your signal bar. Let's see how either one does. So like you would get stopped out, probably. You would, and that's why I love using the 2 ticks under your entry bar, because there are a couple winning trades that you're going to lose because it's going to tick 2 ticks, stop you out, and then keep going in your direction. But 100% of your losing trades, 100% of the trades you would have lost, you're going to save money on, because like right here, even if I had it below my signal bar, I would have got stopped out here exactly where it looks like it's about to turn. So I really like putting it under that entry bar. It just saves you a couple ticks every trade. And that's that issue that I'm talking about, is that like I just don't like going long up here. They tend to fail. Your better bet is looking for shorts. In fact, here, what I should have noted as well is, beyond trying to scratch this trade, this is a reversal pattern off these highs. That's a reversal pattern. And you can see actually we had the breakout, a leg up, pull back, a leg up. So 2 legs to a new high, and it's reversing. We're not at the highs of the range, so we're still unsure exactly what's going on in here, but you have to at least respect it. So back to that idea of not trying to get long up in here, because it's a little tricky. It's like if you would have forced it there, you would have got stopped out again. But you can kind of see it's moving lower now. Which like let's take it all the way, because let's look at it. I'm saying how we don't like getting long up on this side. We want to, if anything, get short. And look at the only short setup we get. We get this reversal pattern, and look how it does. You easily get that scalp. You get the scalp. Not much more, but see how this trade works. So if anything, right, like this is a trade you can take right there, because we're on that upper side of the range. I'm trying to sell up here, not buy. I want to buy down here, sell up here. And you can see how all these buys, you're getting faked out, you're getting stopped out, but the one sell signal you see works. You could have even taken that sell signal, but that's a little too soon. This is a first entry to the low, so that's not really a sell you would take. And now you can see that depends on how tight you make your this little micro trend. I feel like this is fair, but there's at least a breakout, move to a new low, and now we're kind of having another swing higher. So there's two ways to look at that. You can put your little micro trend there, but whenever I get a micro trend and then another micro trend and it's really hard to see the breakout, I just assume that's a range. I just make the assumption that's a range, some congestion. So I would just throw this on the chart, call it a day. Oops. Probably just throw this on the chart. Just say, hey, we got a congestion zone somewhere in here, and we're going to look for a breakout pullback or breakout fade. Depends. So right here, you get a second entry short, but that signal bar is this bearish hammer. It's not really a good signal bar. The trigger bar looks great, but it's not a great signal. I'm probably going to skip this trade, but it's a second entry short. And that fails. And you can see you get that reversal pattern right there. And that is almost a breakout pullback in reality. Off this low, first entry it fails. The second entry, that fails. But when everything closes back inside of this range, I'm probably going to scratch it. But we're not really looking for the longs here. So we're just going sideways. There's nothing in there that I can really use. And you can see like that long, this reversal right here doesn't go far. 25. Yeah, you probably don't even get filled, so you would have lost that trade. So all of these long setups, I mean this lower high, it's in the middle of a congestion zone. I don't think you can really take that trade. But all those long setups, you can see how they're always failing. But the short setups, not every short is working, but like this isn't a good setup, not a great setup. You know, these aren't setups. It's just something to keep in mind. There's a little hidden second entry long right there, but I'm not really looking for them, so I'm just waiting to see what happens, see how that fails, so it doesn't even matter. Here's the higher low, or the lower high, this bar right there. You might have considered taking that trade. If you would have seen this real time, and you know this is the range, you might consider that. See, look at the setups that are working. The setups that are working are the shorts. The longs you're getting trapped in. Here's a reversal pattern, but once again, this bar inside of that bar inside of that bar, so you're kind of selling the breakout. You're on the low side of our little congestion zone that we have made. Probably not the best place. I'm going to actually move this up a little, but that's not going to be the best place to go short, so I'm cool skipping that. Fails, no surprise. Okay, now we get that breakout move that we really want to see. Let's see if we can get a breakout pullback. Here's the pullback, or here's the kind of like, yeah, and then you get like a lower high there. I probably wouldn't have entered that. Just those dojis matching across there, that's not a good look. And then, well, really, okay, something I forgot to mention is that today was an FOMC announcement. So by, 10:45, I don't want to take any more trades. I don't want to be in any trades at 11. Like from 11 to about 11:30, 11:45, maybe 11:30 is fine. I don't want to be in any of these trades. It could be very volatile. I don't know what's going to go on. And you can see how these bars are starting to get real big and emotional. That's because of FOMC at 11. So I wouldn't be trading any of this. I'm just waiting, let it cool down 15 to 30 minutes or so. And we kind of, we shoot up out of there, got a sideways zone and it shoots out. So really, it's only been about 7 minutes, so we're still kind of just waiting. Don't want to get whipsawed too bad. But since we're at the highs of this range, what we're going to be looking for is an opportunity to get short once it sets up. So like right there is a lower high, but we're too close to the FOMC news, so I'm not going to take any of these. But you see that lower high works, so I'll mark it, but probably better just to skip it. And it seems like the prices are starting to calm down about 11, 12. Prices are kind of back in their normal range, normal volatility. Um, so you might start looking for trades after this. See, like right here, that's the reversal pattern. I don't love the way it looks just because it broke higher, then broke lower, then closed on that close, but that's a reversal pattern. The context is good. We're going short at the highs of the range. It doesn't go far. So this one, it depends. Like you probably get stopped out here. If you get stopped out, you got to be careful. Once again, it's like, and it's funny, it's like 30 minutes from the close, or not from the close, but just from when we're done for the day at noon. So you got to be real careful. If you did enter here and get stopped out, I would also be down to enter here, but you got to size down. You got to size down your contracts. Don't be too risky. Let's see if these, and you see how when it broke below her, then it closed back inside. That to me is a scratch. So I'd have my stop break even +1, my target break even +1 just to get out. I don't like, this is supposed to trap people. This is supposed to close outside of the range of this bar. So when it doesn't, it gets a little sketchy. So you get the break even +1, and you might even get the scalp. Yeah, you get the scalp, but you can see how it's almost setting up like a reversal. Just be careful in this range. It's too sideways. Even a trade that you might be considering taking right here, it's too sideways. Just got to skip that one. It almost stops you out, but it doesn't quite. You would have been pretty nervous up here, and then it reverses. This might be a reversal pattern because this high is kind of a higher swing than this high. So it went lower once, fails, and now it's going lower again. I don't really love that setup. Definitely not what I would call my bread and butter. Let's see if it works. Maybe it's an aggressive short. I think it is an aggressive short. It's an aggressive setup, but let's see if the trade works. I don't know. It doesn't look like it went far enough. No, you get the scalp. You get the scalp, so you get out of there. It's your runner. That's the thing. When you get these sort of like trades that don't go very far, it's really your runner that you have to be careful about managing because you probably lose money on the runner. You make money on the scalp and then lose a little bit on the runner. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of a gamble. Let's see, 11:42. So, we're just kind of trying to go to noon, but that's the first entry. No trades there. This is a second entry, but it's too sideways. It looks too sideways. But there's a second entry short right there. It's just not a good looking setup. And that one would have worked. I'm trying to look back here if maybe there's a trade. If this is a double top, that becomes a new high. That's the first. So yeah, this becomes a reversal pattern as well. But it's too confusing. You have to work too hard to see that. If anything, it's just kind of like a breakout pullback. Breaks out, pulls back, and it's moving back lower. But that's it. That's pretty much it. See how that one shoots off like this breakout pullback right here. It's more obvious. But yeah, that's all I saw. It's a pretty good trading day. I mean, a lot of these trades had runners, especially early. You can see, look at where my buys are and look how the buys do. Look where my sells are. Look how the sells do. It's super counterintuitive because you'd want to buy as it gets up in here and hopefully buy some of this up here. But once you can flip your brain around a little bit, you start to realize that actually just try to take the short entries and then down here try to take the buy entries. So that's all I saw today. It's pretty straightforward day, pretty good trading day in general. I'm gonna get out of here though. It's your boy Kamal Hart out.